Hello and welcome to Pursuit of Perfect System. In this video we're going to have a little look at quite an interesting topic. I'm just going to give a kind of my impression on a good approach to take, I suppose, more for the average man who's not got unlimited money and unlimited space. Now I'm just about to install or put back in the Arcam AVR850 to integrate back into this system to turn it from a pure hi-fi system into a home cinema system, hence the center channel and stuff. And how am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to feed out of the Arcam AVR850's pre-outs, its left and right channels, into the pre-ins on the Luxman L509X, into like what would be called home cinema bypass. So it will then use the Luxman to power the left and right channels, but the amplifier, or the volume, sorry, will be controlled by the gain or the volume knob on the Arcam. Now that is an approach and a good method for integrating a hi-fi system with a home cinema system, but it's not the only approach. So let's look at maybe what would be the best approach. Now if you had unlimited budget and you had unlimited space, or you even had just 2 rooms that you could dedicate to home cinema, one to home cinema, one to hi-fi, that will be the best, and you've got the budget to spend accordingly. So if you've got, one room dedicated to home cinema, you can have it pitch black like what we've got in here. Then you can have it set up to be best for home cinema, which would probably be, maybe speakers on the wall or speakers in the walls with a screen down in front of them, which is a fixed screen. You might have rows of seats. You might want multiple subwoofers everywhere to give you even bass response across all those seats. So you might want to create an immersive experience or a wonderful experience for multiple people and stuff, which is often what cinema is all about. And then you might want a completely different room for hi-fi, and you probably would, where you might have speakers more out into the room. And you might have a completely different listening distance. You might have a completely different acoustic approach, obviously, to a hi-fi room, to a home cinema room. And then you might even pick completely different speakers, completely different kit, to power those speakers. And and you might go with a completely different approach if you've got unlimited budget. Now, I think the unlimited budget bit's really important, because you've then got the money to spend equally across both systems. And if you haven't got unlimited budget, if you've got a limited budget and you're running 2 systems in one room or 2 systems in 2 rooms, and if they're completely separate, then you can run into some compromises. Now most people, normal people, are working with compromises. But say, for example, we're sharing our budget, in half. And this is probably, someone asked me, the reason I've made this video, someone asked me is, how do you maybe split your budget up? Do you split 60-40? Then you'd have to kind of make that decision. And if you're running 2 separate systems, you probably find people love music more and they might spend more on the hi-fi, or they love home cinema more and they might just have a small hi-fi and stuff like that. But if you love them both equally and you want amazing performance from both, how would you bloody go about that? Because if you split the budget 50-50, does that give you enough budget to give you amazing for both? Possibly not. And that is the real, probably, crux question. What would be the best approach? Now, there's a couple of approaches I think you can do to get that budget to be more well spent, really. And I think one approach would be to exactly how I started. When I started this channel, if you go and see the video, one of the first videos I make, it was a system walkthrough. And the system I had there, I even put in that video, it's one system to rule them all. A bit of a joke, Lord of the Rings joke. One system to rule them all. But my focus was, right, I want a music orientated home cinema system. So I bought KEF reference speakers, which are wonderful for music and wonderful for home cinema. So that's an easy and obvious choice. Obviously they're expensive, but they're very, very good speakers. But that's the easy part. Is when it comes down to maybe the electronics and an approach of setup and stuff, there can be, right, what do I do? So I went with a music orientated AV processor. I used the Meridian 861, a V4 edition, which actually was a few years old, maybe even 10 years old. But because of the way Meridian works, I was able to upgrade that to be more like a modern spec with linear power supply and other bits. And because Meridian support legacy products better, I was able to still incorporate more modern HD sound codecs like your Master Audio and your Dolby True. So that worked with that. And then I was using a Bryston multi-channel power amplifier. So I went with as kind of big a brand as I could for a multi-channel power amplifier, thinking that would give me the best sound quality for stereo. Now, interestingly, that was a wonderful amplifier and a really, really lovely sounding amplifier with a lot of power and stuff. But what I found myself having to do is use the subwoofers more to try and balance the bass out and stuff in the room, purely because the amplifier wasn't really driving the KEF reference 3 speakers well enough to not need the subwoofers. And so straight away, you know, I took an approach to achieve like a really great sounding system for home cinema and music, but straight away we're into compromises and the things that you're having to do, or things that I found myself having to do in order to achieve a common goal. Now, I think that's still a very valid approach, and if anyone's going down that route, they want one system to rule them all, I applaud you for it, because I think it's one of the most difficult things that you'll ever do, trying to get a system that can be wonderful for music and movies at the same time with just the one set of boxes. It's a serious challenge, and I applaud anybody that takes that on, and I applaud anybody that actually succeeds with it, because I'd succeeded to a point. You know, I was getting very, very good sound that way, and there was benefits, you know, to doing it and stuff like that, and you know, I was wonderful amounts of enjoyment out of it, so there's no knocking that aspect. However, when I started doing the channel and I started getting products in for review, I started getting FPGA DACs in for review, all of a sudden it opened my eyes to, oh wow, obviously HiFi based products for music can hugely elevate the system's performance. And while we're doing the review for the Chord Cutest DAC, its price point of £1,200, and then we power it off a £350 linear power supply, it's still under £2,000 as a product, which might be a lot of money for a DAC, but when there's DACs out there costing 30 or 40 or 50 or £60,000 in relative terms, the performance for the price is incredible. But you don't get that FPGA DAC technology in any AV products that I know of, that I've seen. So straight away there's an advantage for separating your HiFi from your home cinema. There's another advantage or compromise you need to consider. Now, for TV users, they're not going to care because the TV can go up on the wall. You don't have this problem. If you're using a home cinema projector screen, really, and I talk to people through messages, and some people don't do this, but the best approach to sound and picture for home cinema is having the sound behind the screen. That's definitely the best approach, because the best visual approach is removing all stimulus and just seeing screen. That's the purposes of the black room. It helps with black levels, but it also removes the visual stimulus, and all you concentrate on is the picture. And that it works. It definitely works. And there's a video up here, linked up here, that I made last year that really demonstrates this well. So go and watch that if you're in doubt. But the problem is with HiFi, you know, even if the speakers are only in the room, what, about a metre, as these speakers are here, we then need to be mindful of our projector screen. So I had to box clever a little bit with the projector screen and mount that a metre or so into the room. So there's nothing wrong with that, it's easy to do. Our projector screen obviously comes down, it comes down in front of our speakers, in front of our kit. The kit then disappears, turn the lights off, pitch black room, all this kit disappears, and all we get is obviously picture. That's wonderful, but no such thing as a free lunch. Oh, other way. That puts our picture about a metre closer to our viewing and listening position. And there's three seats in this room. There's only really one that I'll concentrate on, mine, selfishly. And probably in an ideal world, that could do with being back a metre. It'd be a metre further away. That would be easier on the eye, you know. Probably could have had a bigger screen. It would be better for lots of different reasons. So it's kind of, yeah, trade-offs. You know, it's a trade-off. And when you take on a project, I think you need to be mindful of the compromises and think about the best approach. And the best approach, oh, that made you laugh. The best approach will be, I think, separating the systems. So if you think music source, music DAC, music amplifier. Now, an integrated amplifier is lovely because, or an integrated amplifier with a home cinema bypass type mode is lovely because it's nice and simple, and you can get some outstanding integrated amplifiers like this Luxman. It's outstanding. It drives these KEF reference, which are difficult speakers, brilliantly, and it sounds amazing. But it's expensive, but it's amazing. There'll be loads of good ones out there. This is obviously a particularly good one. So integrated amplifiers make that easy because the home cinema bypass mode obviously just bypasses the volume on the actual integrated amplifier, and the volume is then controlled by your AV product. You just set the level gains, you know, you set your gains for your left and right speakers in the AV product to balance with the rest, and away you go. That's nice and simple. But that's only simple for people with space. And as you can see here, I'm extremely space limited. And the hi-fi industry is going very heavily all-in-one systems. I'm sure you've seen that. You've got your name, Unities and all that. They've been around for a while, but the new range, extremely popular. Quad, the Arteria Solus, whatever it's called, just released one. You've got Musical Fidelity that have got their Encore range. So, probably never been a better time for integration of hi-fi with home cinema if you've got limited space. So if you've only got maybe, you know, cabinet space or rack space for 2 products, you can have an AV product over here, one side for example, and then you can have something like your Musical Fidelity Encore over here. And the wonderful thing about that new Encore, the Encore 500, is that it's got monstrous amounts of power. It's got 4 monoblock amplifiers in it that are bridged. So you've got technically 4 monoblock amplifiers bridged to 2 at 500 watts per channel. That's a crazy amount of power, but it's enough power to drive your demanding speakers like your Kef References or your Bowers and Wilkins or your Focals or loads of demanding speakers out there. You get some other really odd bespoke type tiny speakers that just require tons and tons of current. That, you know, it can drive all of those. And then wonderfully, it only takes up obviously 1 box space. So then you can integrate that with your home cinema, providing they've got high fit bypass, and you can have stereo independent to hi-fi. So that's probably going to be the best approach for most people. Think separately. Now there's another obvious benefit to doing it that way. Now I know a lot of people don't believe or don't buy these products or don't even realise what difference they make. But if you have spent a lot of money on something like an Audio Quest Niagara 7000, or if you've bought products from Isotech like the Isotech Aquarius, the Sigmas, the Titan, the Nova, which I have, you know, I've got the Titans over there, I've got the Nova sitting down there, I've got a Synchro over there. These are all fantastic products. And if you have like a kind of like a joint system, then all those products can benefit from that one investment. So if you box clever, for example, we've got the Niagara 7000. If I wire that up and box clever with that, it's got enough inputs and power out connections to power this whole system. So when I listen to music, the music system's powered from the Niagara 7000. When I watch a movie, the movie system is powered from the Niagara 7000. And this kind of goes with what I was talking about, sharing budgets. If we had 2 separate systems in 2 separate rooms with a limited budget, we might not be able to have a Niagara 7000. We might only be able to have something of a lesser quality, or we might not be able to have nothing at all, or we might have, right, I've got to have that Niagara 7000 on my hi-fi system because it just sounds so good, and I'll sacrifice the home cinema system because I'm not so fussy. Well, then we lose performance on our home cinema system, and that's not what we want. You know, we spent a lot of money on this. If we box clever with it, it can benefit both systems. Back to what I was saying, if you've got unlimited budget, you can buy one of those for both systems, then that's obviously the ideal scenario. But most people can't, you know, and most people build their systems up over time. So I like the idea, for me, if you've spent a lot of money on speaker cables, you know, for your main speakers left and right, then you want to use those speaker cables all the time. If you're watching, you know, it's not just speaker cables, it could be any accessory or anything that you've bought. To me, I've spent a lot of money on that. I want to be hearing that every single time I use my system. So I know some people have like systems A and system B and stuff like that, and I can understand the reasons for that. But for me, it's like I focus all my money, all my attention, all my time on one system. If I can get it to do music wonderfully, if I can get it to do movies wonderfully, then I'm always getting benefit from the time and the money that I've put into it. So that really was the focus for me years ago, for having one system to rule it all. You know, I spend all my time, money and focus on one, then I always get the benefit from all of that money. Whereas if you spent half your money over there, half your money over there, you're only ever getting the benefit of half your money, and you've shared half your money across both systems. So you're never quite getting the quality that you would if you'd spent all of it on the one. So I think there's just things to factor in. It's an interesting topic. There's no right or wrong answer. It's even difficult trying to talk about it all because there's so much, there's so many things to pay attention to and to consider, really. But I think if you're starting from scratch and you want a home cinema and a hi-fi system to be absolutely stellar, I think you need to focus on one first, and you maybe think, you know, maybe what speakers am I going to use? How am I going to put the speakers in the room? You know, it's so much. Do I want a projector screen? Do I want a TV? So it's a difficult one. It really is. Most people are probably dictated to by family and what they can and can't have. But if you think, if I can separate the hi-fi from the home cinema, even to the point of having separate DAC, separate integrated amplifier, or maybe all in one if you can't have the two, and having a separate AV product, and then you integrate them together like through the pre-outs or the home cinema bypass, that's probably 99% of cases for the average man, woman, going to be the best approach. If you're lucky enough to have all the money in the world, 2 separate rooms, then you can go the whole hog, you know, and have both, really. And if you've got that much money, you're probably going to spend a lot less time in those rooms than you bloody would if you don't. So it's back to that. I certainly don't have unlimited money. I spend a lot of my money, personal money, obviously on my system, and I want to enjoy it. So if I'm in here watching a film, or if I'm in here listening to music, with how things are, I'm getting the benefit of pretty much everything all the time. And for me, that's the most rewarding. So hope this video's been enjoyable. Visit our website. I'll try and do an article. The website's always behind the YouTube videos. You know, I really enjoy making the videos. Website, not as much, you know, obviously typing and all that, it's not as enjoyable, excuse me, it's not as enjoyable for me. So yeah, go and visit our website, please. I'd really appreciate that. If you haven't already, consider becoming a Patreon member, because that's going to get this channel to the next level. You know, I'm happy with where we're going, but I want to get to the next level, and there'll be stuff coming back to the Patreon members in the future, you know, as a reward. What else do I need to say? Yeah, smash the thumbs up button, like it. You know, like the video if you have, if it's been useful, if it's been enjoyable. It's a bit of a ramble, isn't it? I appreciate that. So bloody difficult. It's such a big topic to talk about. So if you've got any specific questions, leave them down below in the comments section. Any ideas, anything I haven't covered, please leave them downstairs in the comment. Leave them down in the comments section. If you've taken a different approach to this, if you can think of maybe a fourth approach that I haven't covered, leave it down in the comments section. And I'll be seeing you in another video soon. Take care. All the best.
Let's just do what you want.